It's going to look to me and to seek my face. And we need to nurture that and not take that for granted. And God will bring that to fruition. Intercession and meeting with God's heart. You know, when you begin to intercede, you know what it causes God to do? It causes God to get involved in people's lives. It causes God to get involved in the situation. So you can't pull them out of Sodom with your words alone. But you can pull them out of Sodom with your prayer. They may not want to listen to what you've got to say, but they can't stop you from praying. They may not want to listen to you preach. They may not want to listen to your testimony. But prayer is ultimately what God uses. In this ministry of intercession, God's sparking something within you that God says, I'm going to get involved. You realize that Abraham himself probably could have gotten into Sodom and couldn't have pulled Lot out himself? That it had to take God getting involved and going in with these angels, and God revealing to Lot, this is how serious it is. This city's coming to an end. And I've heard stories of mothers and fathers who prayed for their backslidden children, and how God got involved. Stories of a young man, I remember in particular, how he was driving, his car went off the side of the road, and it all of a sudden submerged into a lake. And the water's just filling up, and he's saying, it's over. And in one instant, God revealed to him, yes, it's over. In one sense, you're lost. You're not right with me. And this young man crying out to God, and doesn't know how it happened, but he got out. God got involved. God stepped in. When we meet with God, when we meet with Him, our desire with His desire. The key to intercession is the refusal to give up. God's put the hope, He's put the promise within you. You got to go on in faith. Because you know, we live in a generation, this microwavable generation, right? And we apply that to the things of God. And God doesn't answer in a week or a month or a year. We just start falling back. We start easing up on our intensity. It's like what one man said a while back. He says, we've lost this very concept of what it means to pray through. To pray until you see God break through. To believe that no matter what, God has registered something in your heart regarding an unsafe friend or a need, and you're going to stick in there. You're not going to let go. You know, I have certain unsafe friends in my life, and I've stopped the debates, I've stopped the discussion, because I've got no faith in that anymore. I know that God is going to do something. I know God is going to make this person's need so real. They're going to realize that none of their fixes, none of their philosophies, none of what the world has to offer is going to be able to meet that need, and it can't. God is going to so reveal Himself, they're going to realize in that moment. Putting our rest and our confidence in this ministry of intercession. You look at about 80% of most answers to prayer, they're not immediate. But it involves us struggling and a waiting on God. You know, I've said this before, that the Bible compares prayer to knocking on the door of a house. Now, it's one thing to knock on the door of a stranger's house. You knock once or twice, you're not going to keep knocking. But you go home on a late night and you forget your keys, and you know your spouse or your parents are in that house, you're not going to stop knocking. You're going to keep knocking. Because you know who's behind the door. And this is the heart of faith in intercession. You know who's behind the door. You know what He's registered in your heart. And you know that God is not just, you're seeing past the frightful forecast. You're seeing what God wants to do in these last days.